You guys have caught me in the middle of trying to get ready for the class, and also I was making sourdough bread and I completely forgot about it. And so it's overproofed. And for those of you guys who don't know what sourdough bread is or anything I'm talking about, it basically means that I was rising this bread and it's collapsed on itself. You guys can see that. I'm still going to bake it. It's still going to taste good, but I just completely forgot about it. So anyway, I'm going to have that going on while we're trying to make dinner. So it's going to be a little more chaotic than normal, but that's okay. So now I'm preheating my oven for that. But we can get going on other things. Hey, Diana, you are first to comment. That's awesome. So what I did want to say is that if you guys are watching this live or on the replay, if you can just check to make sure you're still subscribed, because I've gotten a few emails from people stating that they're not subscribed anymore, like they were unsubscribed without intentionally doing it themselves. So if you just want to check on that, that'd be awesome. Like I've stated before, hey Sharon, this channel is not monetized, so I don't make a cent. But that being said, I love seeing more and more subscribers. It means we're getting out the word of nutrient-dense foods. So if you know somebody, or if you're not subscribed and you're watching this, hit that subscribe button. We're only 9 subscribers away from 2,000, which is crazy. I was happy just to have 30 subscribers, so this is like totally blowing my mind. But anyway, so if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, and if you were subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed. So anyway, that's a milestone that's coming up, and like I said, I don't make a penny, so it's not about making money for me. It's just cool to see more and more people connecting with the channel. So tonight we're going to be making not my recipe at all, but ranch chicken enchiladas. I have it written on this thing here. This is not from my cookbook. I got this one off of Pinterest. I don't remember whose recipe it was. But I've kind of altered it. I've taken the recipe and altered it so that it's more nutrient dense. We're going to make our homemade mayonnaise live here because I've had some questions about making homemade mayonnaise. People are having trouble making that, so they've been emailing me, so I figured I'd just cover all of that. Even though, look guys, I have a jar of homemade ranch dressing right here, but I'm going to make it just to show you guys how to make your own mayonnaise. All right, so we're going to do that first. That's the first step. I'm so glad you guys are with me tonight. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to angle you down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Well, actually, first let's talk about ingredients with mayonnaise. So why make your own homemade mayonnaise? The reason why is because a lot of store-bought mayonnaise, the first ingredient is soy, okay? Soy oil, soybean oil. And that is not healthy for you, and so we need an alternative. So you can always buy avocado oil mayonnaise as well. But there's preservatives in that to keep it looking like mayonnaise and not turning different colors on the shelf. So making it fresh is best. We know that the oils were not damaged. We know that they were not rancid when they made the mayo. We know that when we're eating the mayo, it's not rancid. So it's just really important to make your own at home if you can. It's super, super easy. So number one, your eggs. These are farm fresh eggs. They must be at room temperature. If you try to make mayonnaise with cold eggs straight out of your fridge, it's not going to work. So room temperature eggs are a must. The next thing that I found that is a must to make homemade mayonnaise is a quart size wide mouth canning jar. I know it sounds funny, okay, but I've never been able to get it to make it into the nice thick mayonnaise consistency in anything but a quart size jar, okay? So a similar diameter of a quart size jar is what you need. The next thing you need are your choice of oils, okay? So usually when I make my homemade mayonnaise, I make it 50% olive oil and 50% avocado oil. And I buy both of these from Azure Standard. And the reason why is because Azure Standard is amazing with their oils. They don't cut the oils with any other sort of oils. So when the label says olive oil, this is guaranteed to be olive oil and not a combination of other oils that you have no idea what you're eating. Same thing with this avocado oil. It does say refined, but if you get on Azure's website and read into the refining process of the avocado oil, it is actually at the same temperature as the unrefined. So anyway, and it's also refined using natural things instead of chemicals. So it's a lot better for you than other brands out there. So check out Azure Standard for both of those. So that's what I'm going to be using tonight. You will also need apple cider vinegar, like raw apple cider vinegar, Bragg's. I have an empty bottle here. Bragg's organic apple cider vinegar. You're going to need that as well to make homemade mayonnaise. This is what makes your homemade mayonnaise white, even with the pastured eggs that are typically orange in color, okay? And I have some of that poured into this kombucha container, so don't get confused when I'm pouring from here. It's actually apple cider vinegar. All right, now we can start making. Oh, the other thing you need is a immersion blender. You can get these for like $30 and up. Okay, it just has some blades on the end and just a button that you squeeze and pulse to make the homemade mayonnaise. So it's nice once you have those things, you're ready to go. The next thing is just going to be the process. There is a process to doing this to make it turn out. So let's get the camera down for you guys. All right, so I have my quart-sized jar, and I'm going to have to crack these eggs. Hang on a second. We're going to separate out the eggs because we just need yolks. We don't want egg whites. Egg whites actually are kind of anti-nutrients. They're not really that great for your body. So when they're raw, when they're cooked, they're amazing. So we're going to go ahead and separate out the egg yolks. It has to be done in this order. If it's not done in this order, your mayonnaise will not turn out. Egg yolks must go in there first. There we go. And this won't get wasted. This is going to go out to our chickens. I did forget one other ingredient, so hang on one second. Let me go grab it. Now I'm going to put my loaf of bread in really quick so I don't forget, because it is literally just continuing to collapse right in front of my face. All right, I'm going to set a timer so I don't forget about that. My kids will still scarf it. It's just, you know. Here's the one from earlier. It also collapsed a little bit. We had a big air bubble in the middle. Still pretty. Still tasted amazing. Okay. So the last ingredient that I forgot about is you do need some form of prepared mustard. So I'm going to be using Dijon mustard tonight, but you could use yellow mustard if you'd like. And this entire recipe is on page 28 of my cookbook. Okay, so we have 2 egg yolks in here. The next thing to go in is your prepared Dijon mustard. I always put a lot in there because we actually love the flavor that it gives. The recipe only calls for a quarter of a, 1 tablespoon is what it calls for. I'll probably do like a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons. We just like Dijon mustard. Okay. And I buy this variety from Azure Standard as well. Comes in glass. Hey, Jackie. Oh, Sharon, I didn't know you were in Portland. That's so cool. Do you know about the West Day Price chapter out there? Okay, so this I get from Azure Standard as well. So Dijon mustard, I forgot about that. And next is just the oils. So what I usually do is get out a measuring cup here. And you need a combined amount of 1.5 cups of oil. You could do straight avocado oil if you want. You could do straight olive oil. It's just a different taste. So what I typically do is 3/4 cup of olive oil and 3/4 cup of avocado oil. All right. So we get a total of 1.5 cups. There we go. And then we are going to add our apple cider vinegar to this. It's 1 tablespoon. I just eyeball it, you guys. It's not going to hurt if you put a little extra. It's like just a little tiny bit left. We had bought a huge gallon-sized apple cider vinegar from Azure Standard, and that was the end of it. Like, we had several bottles, and we didn't have any more bottles to put it in, so that's why it was inside a kombucha container. Okay, so now comes making the homemade mayonnaise, which is right here in this jar. So the thing that you can go wrong with is adding your oil too fast. It doesn't cause a problem if you add it too slow. We'll put it that way, okay? So err on the side of adding it slowly. So what I typically do is just go ahead and put my immersion blender into the egg yolks and the Dijon mustard, and I just pulse it a couple of times. Okay? Now, from the back of this jar, I'm going to be pouring this apple cider vinegar and oil mixture slowly. Okay. If you add the oil too fast, it will end up like a liquidy thick sauce instead of a really super thick mayonnaise. And I've had this mayonnaise stay good in my refrigerator for over a month. No problem. So you could technically make the mess once a month and have mayonnaise for your family, depending on how much mayonnaise you eat. Also on page 28 of the cookbook, right underneath homemade mayonnaise, is my Miracle Whip recipe. It's just you add some more seasonings to it to make it taste more like store-bought Miracle Whip. So when it comes to the immersion blender, I just hold it so that it's just barely in the mixture, so that it's kind of like sucking it up and whipping it. I think that really helps instead of leaving it on the bottom. And so I'm just kind of gently pulling up as I add more of the oil. The sun's going down, so I had to turn on the light behind you. Okay, now at the bottom of the oil is your vinegar. So I always love this part. If you guys watch the color, it's going to turn to white, which I love. There it is. It's still kind of a creamy white. Okay. So you guys can see how nice and thick that is. All right, I'm going to rinse this off and I'll be right back, you guys. I tried to get the sauces off of my immersion blender as quickly as possible because it has like a little crevice in the top behind the blade where if it gets dried in there, it's really hard to get food out. So I tried to wash it off as soon as I get done using it. Sharon, yes. Okay, so Sharon said, I tried this recipe this morning and it didn't turn out. Now I know why. Yes, you have to go slow with it, but look at how beautiful that is. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to make a homemade ranch dressing. As soon as I get the oil out of here. Okay, so I did want to mention one other thing that I do buy from Azure Standard. We do not eat this all of the time, but this sure is a time saver if you have a bunch of kids over, which we did this afternoon, and you're just trying to whip up some ranch dressing. You don't want to go to the store and buy that because it has all sorts of things in it. Azure does sell a buttermilk ranch dressing mix that you can literally mix your homemade mayonnaise with sour cream and then add this and a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and you're done as far as ranch dressing goes, buttermilk ranch dressing. So, like I said, there's a couple of things I don't like into the ingredients, but this compared to store-bought, this is amazing. So, anyway, they do sell that. I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not going to be using that tonight. We're going to go from scratch, but this is available if anyone is interested. Super affordable, too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make ranch dressing. I have some in here, but we're just going to make a little more. So, gotta grab the sour cream. Hang on a second. So the ranch dressing recipe is on page 29 of my cookbook with all of the ingredients listed out. But I will read them to you as I add them to the jar. So I'm just going to completely eyeball the amount that I'm sticking in here. But you're supposed to have 3/4 of a cup of homemade mayonnaise and 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. I am all out of organic sour cream until my Azure order comes on Tuesday, so I chose to buy some Daisy sour cream. Okay, so I'm looking for about the same amount of sour cream. It's not an exact science, guys. It's just got to be 50-50. And then to this, see, I have extra mayonnaise. Now this is going to go into the refrigerator with a lid on it. And we use this for like egg sandwiches. When I make my English muffins and such, we put this on it with eggs and cheese, and we have that for breakfast. So this will go into the refrigerator. Okay, so to this, we're going to add all of our spices. All right, so we are going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of dill weed. There's a big difference between dill weed and dill seed. Dill seed is actual seeds of dill. It's a brown color, total different flavor. Dill weed is green, and it's like the little branches and leaves off of dill when you grow it. So big difference. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon of dried parsley. This calls for chives, but I don't have any right now, so I'm just going to skip it. Garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon. After we get this done, the meal comes together super fast. We just had to make ranch dressing. Okay, onion powder. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon, but I'm going to do 1/2 teaspoon since I didn't have any chives. I gotta grab my salt. Hang on, guys. Next ingredient is salt. You're gonna want healthy salt, colored salt, pink Himalayan salt, Celtic sea salt. All the colored salts are great options. And we need 1/4 teaspoon. It does say 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, but I'm actually gonna skip it. My kids are not huge pepper fans. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. This is also another Azure Standard great buy, guys. It comes in glass and it's pure lemon juice. 1 tablespoon. Okay. And then 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. If I can find it. I have mine in this huge glass jar. Just gonna make it kind of hard to pour, but we're gonna roll with it if I can get it open. Might be skipping the apple cider vinegar. You're supposed to put in 3 tablespoons. There it goes. It just built up. Just built up in there. All right, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So I have a friend that buys maple syrup in these huge glass containers. And then she gives me the containers, and when I buy my 1 gallon size apple cider vinegar jugs that come in plastic for Measure Standard, because they bottle it right there, you guys. So they bottle it in plastic, it comes to me, and I put it back in a nice glass container. So I just repurposed it. I'll have to pour it into other containers here soon. So I can either use an immersion blender for this or just a spoon. We're just going to stir it. And then it's on to the recipe. I actually made the homemade tortillas ahead of time. You could totally use whatever tortillas you want. If you are not eating tortillas, you could totally use cabbage leaves. I know that sounds weird, but it's divinely delicious. It's sort of like a cabbage roll, but Mexican style. It's quite good. People that usually wouldn't try that, they try it and they're like, oh my gosh, totally going to eat that from now on. If you can't have it, you know, it's better than not having anything. Okay, so we pre-made up our tortillas. Like I just said, these are sourdough tortillas. And they've been sitting in this container for a little while, so I'm just going to pop them in the oven for about 5 minutes, and then we can start stuffing them. I've got my bread in there. It's going to be like a square loaf. All right, we'll let that warm on up. And then we are off to the rest of our recipe. So we need a container. This one is still wet. I was actually washing this container as you guys were jumping on. All right, so we got our homemade ranch dressing. I've got some homemade salsa. You could use whatever type of salsa you would like. Salsa verde, which is green salsa, might taste a little weird. I would stick with a red type of salsa. Okay, and we also have homemade taco seasoning. I do have a video up on how to make this, and the recipe is inside my cookbook. If you have not ordered my cookbook yet, I do have brand new hot off the press cookbooks available. It's $28 plus $4 shipping. If you're interested in that, my email is down below. Just send me an email and we'll get you one. But this has the taco seasoning recipe in it as well. And a lot of the recipes from here on the channel, which are, you know, over 200 videos, so over 200 recipes in here, plus some, okay? So taco seasoning is the other thing that we're going to need. And we got our ranch dressing, and we'll be shredding some cheese as well. But the first step is going to be taking already cooked up chicken. Okay, 3 cups, and we're going to put it into this bowl here. I always, or not always, but for a lot of our chickens each year, I cook up the chicken, and I either can it or I measure it out into baggies that are like 1 pound, or I'll cook up a bunch of chickens for the month and then look at my recipes and check to see how much chicken each recipe uses, and then I just measure it out into freezer bags and flatten it. And the reason why I do this is because it saves so much room inside my freezer, because you're not storing a whole chicken. If you think about it, a whole chicken is hollow in the inside, so that's actually freezer space that you can't use. So I find myself cooking up the chickens. I make chicken broth and can that. And then I debone the chicken and we eat it in dishes like we're going to make tonight. Okay, so 3 cups of chicken. That's what's in there. It's already cooked. Now to this, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of taco seasoning. And like I said, this is my homemade blend. If you feel okay with using the packets, it would be 1 packet. Okay. All right, we're going to mix this on up. I'm just going to use my hand. All right. Okay. I'm going to go wash my hand now. And I'm going to grab a 13 by 9 pan, and we're going to go ahead and grease it with some lard. I store my lard inside the refrigerator. Unless there's just like a little bit left, then I store it out next to the stove. And the reason why is because we burn wood heat here. Our temperatures fluctuate so much that I can't guarantee that it's not going bad as it's sitting there. So I store mine in the refrigerator. Lard really shouldn't have an offensive smell. If it does, it's not good anymore. You could also use coconut oil, butter, lard, tallow. Those are all great fats to cook with. The reason why we are cooking with them is because they're semi-solid and they do not go rancid or have any sort of free radical damage type stuff when you heat them up. Whereas things like Crisco sure do. So we want to make sure that we're not putting that stuff in our body. So we're going to go with our traditional fats that us humans have been using for a very long time. Okay, so we just went ahead and greased this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and shred up some cheese. We need 3 cups of cheddar cheese. And I buy Romano from Azure Standard. I buy a lot of stuff from Azure Standard, you guys, and it's not, sometimes it's not because it's cheaper. Literally, we live so remotely here that the nearest Costco is like 2 hours away from me. And the closest store that sells has a little tiny organic section, only sells cheese in like 8-ounce blocks, and they're so expensive. So Azure Standard is actually the cheapest once you factor in time and gas money to travel 2 hours away. So I buy a lot of my groceries from Azure Standard. I have a lot. If you're new to Azure Standard, you're not sure what they sell or need ideas of what to purchase there, cost and everything, I do have videos up here on the channel called Azure Hauls. And that is just a video designated to going over my Azure order for the month. I did not have an Azure order video this last month because I had a miscarriage. So our little son was born literally the day before my Azure drop. So I did not do a video on that. Videos were like the last thing on my mind after having a miscarriage. So, all right. I think we're getting pretty close to 3 cups. Maybe just a little bit more. So anyway, there's not an Azure Haul video up for the beginning of January because there wasn't one. But there sure is for all the other months of last year, 2022. So that's a great resource if you're new to Azure Standard, just to see what they order, kind of what I order for my large family. I do have a large family, so as you're looking at those orders, that's why there's a lot of food, because I'm feeding 7 people. So, all right, so we've got our cheese, we've got our chicken stuffing, we got our ranch dressing, we got our salsa. So let's make our sauce really quick. I'm going to grab one more jar. Let me grab it from the pantry. I'll be right back. You can tell spring is coming because I have lots of empty canning jars. All right, so we need, in order to make the sauce for this, we need to mix 3/4 of a cup of salsa and 3/4 of a cup of ranch dressing. I'm just going to eyeball it. I eyeball a lot of things. If you guys want to, do it a different way, go ahead and measure it on out. That's pretty darn close to 3/4 of a cup. Let's stir that around and see where we're at. I think I'm going to make a little bit more because for those of you who are new to the channel, I love making sauce. I love smothering things in sauce, and so I'm going to make a little bit extra. But the recipe that we were making only calls for 3/4 of a cup of each. But I love smothered everything. If it's not smothered in sauce, it's not worth eating. It's a really, really great way to get healthy fats into your family. Don't mind these little labels. I put labels on my things because I use reusable Tattler lids, and so you can't write on the lid, so I have to do like little labels. Then we use the product, we wash it, and I never take them off. In fact, some jars that actually have pear sauce in them are labeled like salsa. So anyway, that's just for another day, but I should just peel it off, see, but anyway. There's our sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the enchiladas now, or the tortillas, I mean. We're going to get to stuffing them. All right. Let me grab them on out. They were just warming, so this should be pretty darn quick. I've got that bread baking for another minute. Then we're going to take the bread's temperature and see if it's done. That's how I tell if my bread is done. And I do state that inside my cookbook, just in case you guys are wondering. All the information you need on how to make homemade bread is in my cookbook. Okay? All right, so we made these tortillas earlier today. They turned out amazing. These are sourdough tortillas. But I also have videos up here on the channel how to make keto tortillas or grain-free. That's another option. You can also make sprouted tortillas. There's a video up here on the channel about that. And all of those recipes are handwritten inside my cookbook. So we're going to go ahead and fill these tortillas. So I'm going to go ahead and put let's see. It's kind of just a guessing game. I'm just going to fill them up with whatever. But they say 2 tablespoons, but I love my sauce, so it might be more than that. And a little bit of cheese in there. Now these are homemade. If you're using store-bought, you'd probably have a nice round one. I don't have that luxury. I'm just making mine from scratch. So I'm going to try and roll this the best I possibly can. Oh, it actually turned out pretty good. Look at that. Okay, it's just going to go right into the bottom of the pan. When you make enough of these, you're able to like kind of judge with your eyes like how much stuffing to put in. But when you first start making them, it's usually a mess. You usually put too much. That's the one thing I love. I'm just putting a little bit of sauce, a little bit of cheese, and a little bit of the meat. That's the one thing I love about enchiladas is it sure stretches a food budget because you're not having to feed so much meat per person. Or cheese. I'm going to check this bread really quick, you guys. I'm going to take it on out. I'll take you guys along for that adventure. All right. I know this light bothers everybody. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab my bread on out, and we're going to take its temperature and see if it's done. I know a lot of people say you could tap the top of the bread to see if it sounds hollow, but I've never been able to have that work for me. So I take the bread's temperature with a meat thermometer. I go into the middle of the loaf. Here, I'm going to move you guys closer so you guys can see. We'll slide you over. Ready? Here we go. All right, so I'm going to take a meat thermometer, and I'm just going to go into the side of the loaf. Now, if this loaf wasn't collapsed, it would be in a nice arch, which would be easier to take its temperature, but it is what it is. So we're going to go into the middle, and I just kind of go at an angle into the bread, and we're just going to wait and see if it's 190 degrees. If it is not, then I put it back into the oven. It doesn't look good. It's looking like we're going to stop at 160. Okay, so this needs to go in for approximately 10 more minutes, I've found out with my stove. So I'm going to put it back in and set a timer for 10 minutes. So I don't forget about it while we're making enchiladas. Okay. All right, back to enchilada making, guys. I've had bread loaves that I thought were done because they sounded hollow, be not done, and I cut into them, and then you can't put that back into the oven. All right. So, we're just going to add some more stuffing. This is so easy. You guys could do a side with this of the refried beans. That video is up here on the channel. It's also the handwritten recipe is inside the recipe book. That's super good. If you're on GAPS, go ahead and use white beans instead. Total GAP friendly way to have refried beans. They taste amazing. Yes, they are white in color, but oh man, they taste amazing. So that would be like a full GAPS meal there. I did want to say I've been starting to make my own meals off to the side for myself since I'm getting serious about healing my cavities, and it's really, really hard to cook just a meal for myself. And I find myself, especially at dinner, like really, really tired and not wanting to make a whole separate meal for me. And so basically I end up cheating. And so I just decided on Sunday I was going to spend the time to make up some meals for myself and make them all cavity friendly. And so one of the meals that I made was my cheeseburger soup. That recipe is up here on the channel as well. But I altered it. The recipe is also inside the cookbook. So I made the cheeseburger soup. This will be GAPS friendly as well. Instead of using sprouted wheat or some sort of thickener, I just doubled the cream cheese, you guys. It turned out amazing. So that is a great tip as far as converting that recipe. And then I also used rutabagas instead of the potatoes into the recipe. And like we've talked before, rutabagas, you want to make sure you're buying them that they're the size of a tennis ball or smaller. You don't want anything bigger than that because that's when they start to take on a turnipy, tangy type flavor. And we want them to taste more like a potato. So, but that turned out amazing. You just double the cream cheese in it. I almost got the whole pan full. Okay. This will probably be the last one for this pan. And I got sauce, and we're going to pour the sauce over the top. So each one gets meat, cheese, and sauce, and then we're going to pour sauce on the top and top it with cheese. Okay, so here it goes. This is why I made extra sauce, because I love sauce. I'm not even the one eating this, but I know everybody loves sauce. When you eat out at a restaurant, they don't skip on the sauce. And like I said, this is all healthy fats inside the sauce, so why would you skimp on it? If you have extra sitting there, make a little extra for yourself. All right, so this is loaded, okay? And we're gonna put cheddar cheese on the top. So 3 cups of cheese total. And I'm really feeling like this needs to be pretty, so we're gonna do a little bit of pretty action, a little bit of glitter. I think what we will do is we'll actually take the taco seasoning and use that as glitter. Usually when it's Italian dishes, I use parsley or something like that, but this is Mexican, so we will go ahead and take a little bit of taco seasoning and just sprinkle it. Kind of looks like nutmeg, but it's not. Just makes the dish prettier, and we all know that a pretty dish makes it taste better for darn sure. That's why when you eat out at a restaurant, they have pictures of the food on their menu. Okay, yum. Okay, so the bread has 5 more minutes, and then this is going to go in the oven at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Really, we're just melting cheese because everything is cooked. And that's all there is to it. I'll probably serve this with a side of refried beans. I made up a big batch, and I put them in freezer bags and froze them, so all I have to do is warm them up. So that's awesome. All right, so I want to talk about one more thing because I got an email from Kathy, who has been a watcher of the channel forever. And she was emailing me about my wood stove. So we're going to talk about that because I know it's a hot button issue for lots of people. And we got about 5 minutes until the bread is done. So let's talk about my wood stove. So the reason why we burn wood is because out here in the winters, we lose power a lot. So I needed an option to heat our home. And we have a old tree belt here with trees that have fallen down that we can chop up for firewood. But what I did want to say is the same thing I said in my email to Kathy, which is if you're going to buy a wood stove, make sure you're buying one that's used. And the reason why I say that is because these days they put catalytic converters in these wood stoves, and the top does not get nearly as hot as it could to cook with. So we're talking about no electricity, and you have to warm up food somehow. So that's why we bought a used wood stove, is because the top does get hot enough. You guys can see that pan right there. We put water in that to humidify the air, but it also comes to a boil. So we bought used wood stoves for here. The other question that was asked is if there's such thing as a wood stove that burns both wood and pellets. And to my knowledge, there is not. There is only one that I know of right now. And it does not have a pretty glass on the front where you can enjoy the fire. The two systems are different. With a pellet stove, your exhaust goes out the wall, usually straight. And with wood, it goes up and then out. There has to be a certain amount of rise to draw the smoke out that is created when you burn wood. So 2 different things, and it's actually 2 different sizes of pipe that's required for both of those. So the only stove that I'm aware of right now is called a rocket stove. These have been around for a long time. People use them. They're the most clean way to burn wood. There's actually no smoke that comes out of your chimney. There's no smell of fire that comes out of your chimney. The smoke is double, if not triple burned within the unit. So it's very low emissions, if any at all. But they have been is it URL? I think it's URL. They haven't been certified by the government with a fancy little sticker on the back ever until now. So you can look into that. It's rocketstove.com. It's called the Liberator Stove. It's just nice because it's a way to heat your home. You can cook on it as well. And you can buy a separate pellet hopper for the top that it can burn pellets. It's an automatic pellet feeder that does not run on electricity at all. So there's no fan like a pellet stove would have. There's no auger like a pellet stove would have. And you can choose to do pellets one day, take the auger off, and then it just takes small branches. That's the miracle of a rocket stove, is you're not feeding it huge logs. You can actually just go into the forest and find twigs and branches laying around, and actually fires quite hot just with smaller articles of wood. So anyway, but yes, so you can use wood one day, pellets the next if you want. It's just a very freeing stove, which is probably why they named it the Liberator. If you want more information or you want to check out the way it works and what it looks like, the Dirt Patch Heaven here on YouTube has an entire video series because they just put one in their basement. So anyway, you can look into that. But yes, we burn wood, strictly wood here. We have a wood source, and we just have to have a way that doesn't depend on electricity at all. I had another friend ask me why we didn't do, because you can buy an outdoor wood stove. It kind of looks like a miniature shed, but the entire thing is a gigantic stove, and it's outside, so it's less of a home risk. And a lot of times homeowners insurance will like that better than something like this, because this is obviously in my home, whereas this other thing would be sitting outside. The reason why we did not do that is the same reason why we won't do a pellet stove, and that is because it depends on electricity. So it is outside, but it depends on electricity to run the fans. And because we live remotely, we often lose power when we have a big winter storm come through. And so you don't have the power to run any sort of fan. This is also the reason why with my greenhouse, I didn't do a geothermal greenhouse or any sort of tubing running underneath the earth with circulation fans, is because I did not want to depend on electricity. Yes, I could have just purchased another generator for my greenhouse, but I also love the opportunity to take a break during the year. And I feel like if I were to do a greenhouse that was geothermal that could grow food year round here in my climate, I would just burn myself out on growing our own food. So the way I look at it is, if I can't grow enough food in 8 months out of the year to preserve enough to eat for 4 months, there's a bigger issue than just my greenhouse. So anyway, we have to develop systems here that do not rely on electricity. So that is why we burn wood. So we have a way to cook if we have to. If the lights go out for an extended amount of time, we have a way to heat our home for our children and eat. Our bread's done. Let's go get it. All right. Here we go. We're going to get our bread out, and it's going to be done. I'm not even going to take its temperature because I know that 10 minutes is all it needed. And I'm going to go ahead and put our enchiladas into the oven. I'm going to lower the temperature down to 350 degrees. And it's going to bake for 25 minutes. And I'm going to set a timer on that as well because I will forget it. It's been the day of forgetting what I'm making. It's been a little bit crazy. I do have extra stuffing and I have extra cheese, so I will probably make up some more sauce and use these tortillas for something. We could also use them for breakfast tortillas as well. All good options. So let's get this bread out of there. So I'm going to bring over my cooling rack here. All right. Let's get the bread out of the pan real quick. There it is. I basically gave a sourdough bread making class to a dear friend today. And so that's why I have sourdough in my house. My kids will eat this up with no problem. Unfortunately, they both collapsed. I was proofing them or rising them for too long. Got busy talking with this friend and completely forgot the first loaf. And I thought, well, she's leaving, so I'm not going to forget the second loaf. Well, I did. See, it went nice and flat. But it's still going to taste good. There's still not lots of delicious looking bubbles there. This will be good probably for breakfast tomorrow. We can always use bread. I usually serve bread with a lot of my soups and such. Just a good side, a good way to fill up the children. This recipe is also in my cookbook. So anyway, that's it. Do we have any questions tonight? Let me see what we got going on because I haven't been paying attention. Okay, I've missed a lot, so just hang on a second. I gotta go back, guys. Julie! Julie's here. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I'm late, but I made it. How have you been? I'm doing much better. Azure's customer service is great. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say on the Doing Better site here, because you asked. So my spot where I'm at with my miscarriage, emotional healing is pretty good. I actually cried about it last night because I was doing so good. So then I felt guilty about feeling good. But then the next thought that came into my mind was my baby that passed away would want me to move on with my life. Just because he passed away doesn't mean I have to as well. So I'm trying to accept that as truth and move forward. So I know I did share this book before, but if you guys know anyone who's recently suffered from a miscarriage, or just to have on hand, because miscarriages are happening a lot these days. So this book is amazing. It's called Grace Like Scarlet. And this is a book about grieving, but finding hope in the grief anyway. It's an amazing book. I'm about halfway through it. I love this book because it talks about miscarriages, how you're feeling, emotions you might be feeling, and then also in the back, it has an entire section on child grief. That has been the latest thing at our household. So if you guys are praying, please continue to pray. The children have finally started grieving over the loss of their baby brother, and that is a heavy thing. It's really heavy. So keep up the prayers if you guys are a praying type. Anyway, but this discusses in there about child grief, how to handle this entire chapter. There's an entire chapter about for the husbands of someone who's just had a miscarriage. There's an entire chapter in here about a friend who wants to help someone who's had a miscarriage. What should you say? What words shouldn't you say? What things can you do to help your friend walk through this valley? So amazing book. If you guys go to thrift books, they have these books for $4 brand new. So check that out. The next book that's been really good is called Held. Okay. So this is a daily devotional. If you're not a Christian, probably wouldn't help very much, but this is basically walking you through grief with a biblical perspective. It's a daily devotional that even I have time for, and I have 5 children. So it's very, very great. It walks you through it, gives you a couple of scriptures to think about and a little journaling section. And this has just been really, really, really good. So the name of it again is Held by Abby Wedgeworth. That's really good too. And of course my Bible, I'm reading my Bible with that. And I started this new book. Thank you to Julie from Piedmont, South Dakota for sending me a book. It's called Living Slower. I just started this, but it is simple ideas to eliminate excess and make time for what matters. Okay. So it covers decluttering your home, eat healthier home cooked meals, develop stronger relationships, save money, reduce screen time, prioritize togetherness, seek God, embrace rest, and more. So good book. I just started it though, so I'm not going to give a full book review yet. But I'm doing much better. It's a daily giving my grief and the things that I can't carry to the Lord because he can carry it, and he's very, very good at carrying it. So it's just a daily giving it to the Lord. Julie said, I've missed you. I had a horrible time the past few months myself. I'm so sorry you lost your baby boy. I did see your miscarriage video, so you've been in my thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, it's just a daily thing. And it's going to continue to be a daily thing. But I just view it as, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. So I just try to keep myself focused on that I don't have to carry everything. That's what God is here for. And rest assured that I will see my son again someday, which will be amazing. Yes, he can heal everything. Absolutely. He sure can. So anyway, we do have a burial that we're starting to plan here on the farm. He's going to be buried next to someone else's ashes. They're already out here. Another person that was dear to our heart. So anyway, that'll be this spring, which up until about a week ago, I was actually like really not looking forward to, as dreading it, because I felt like I was finally doing okay. And then this spring, when the ground thaws, we still have to bury him. And so I wasn't looking forward to that, but I'm actually, as time progresses, it's been almost 4 weeks now, or has it been 4 weeks? 1, 2, 3. It's been 4 weeks. So as time progresses, I'm actually looking forward to that, just for closure and to honor him in what way we can here on the farm. So I'm actually starting to look forward to that, which is great, because that's going to be a big thing. But anyway, that's that. That's how I'm doing. I'm doing much better, you guys, and I really appreciate the prayers. And like I said, please just pray for my kids, because they've just started all of this. It's just starting to sink in, like there's no baby sibling coming, and so that's a hard thing to grasp, especially for my older girls that were really looking forward to a little sibling to hold. So anyway, keep them in your prayers. The other thing I wanted to say too was in the next week or two, I'm going to be having some more videos coming out on freezer meals. That was a request. I took a little poll, and there's a ton of people who wanted that. But don't worry, you guys. I'm still going to continue the smaller meals, because I know there's a lot of you guys that aren't cooking for a huge family, or that want to have a whole bunch of freezer meals inside their freezer. So don't worry. These videos will still be around. And I'm also going to start pulling out the camera for more recipes. I just have a hard time remembering to pull out the camera, because I'm usually like a mess. Okay, like I'm still inside my pajamas, and like my hair is not brushed at all. And I think I'm just going to have to get, you guys will accept me as I am. So we all wake up in pajamas. We all wake up with our hair a mess. And so I just need to get over that and make a video anyway, because I've got things, quick breakfasts that I could put up here on the channel. It would be a big help to most of you. Most of us have a busy morning. And I just need to start bringing the camera out and recording it so that I can share it with you guys, because mornings are horrible for most people. So anyway, I'm going to try and remember to pull my camera out and have that happen, even though I look like a mess. And I'll probably even show you guys how much of a mess I am, because I love doing that, actually. I am human just like you. So anyway, you guys can look forward to those videos as well. Yeah, I think that's all I have for tonight. But I did want to say one more time, just in case you guys jumped on late, please check to make sure you guys are still subscribed. Like I said before, it's not a money deal. I'm making no money whatsoever from this channel. I've never monetized it. I've never come into agreement with YouTube. I just like to know that I'm impacting so many people. We're 9 subscribers away from 2,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I was happy to have 30 subscribers, so I'm so happy you guys are here. But just double check that you're still subscribed. I'd love to hit that 9 more subscriber mark. That would be awesome. But like I said, not for money reasons. I don't make a penny. I've never entered into an agreement with YouTube, because once you enter into your agreement with YouTube, you end up signing some documents that then they can hold you accountable to a lot more of what comes out of here. And sometimes I don't know what's going to come out of here. And so I really don't want somebody else controlling everything. And I know they already control it, but they really control it once you sign a contract. So Jackie said, real life is a good thing. We love you for who you are, not how great you look or how perfect your house looks like. That's good, because my house is a mess right now. Julie, I see that you're almost 2,000 subscribers. Yay, that's exciting. Yes, come as you are. We don't care for bad hair, I'm guessing was what you read. We were all human and super busy. Yes, super busy. Okay, so I will promise you guys, I will try and remember to get out the camera. Like I have a sourdough Dutch baby recipe. I made yummy sourdough pumpkin waffles yesterday morning. Delicious. Didn't take very long to make. There's just a lot of things that I could put up here on the channel. I just have to get over not having brushed hair and looking kind of crazy, but you guys might get a good laugh out of it. So, I mean, that's therapy right there, right? So, we will do that. I'll try to make sure that I end up doing that. So anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for being on here. I'm still missing Carl. Where is Carl? I hope he's okay. Jackie said, I am one who is cooking for a single eater, so I have to eat a meal multiple times. Yes, that's understandable. All right. Yeah, Carl, I hope he's okay. All right, so thank you for being on, Diana and Sharon and Jackie, of course. And, of course, Kathy's watching, but she can't say anything. And there's a possibility that Kristen is watching as well. I think I already said Julie and Sharon and Jackie. And that's all I know who's here. Diana, I think I said you as well. So, all right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here every week. You guys are such an encouragement. You guys keep me going. Thank you for all of your prayers. That is keeping me going as well. And I'll see you guys next week. I'll get a pre-scheduled event up so you guys can send out an alert. And I'm going to keep these meals, like I said, as just one single meal for you guys. Because like I said, a lot of you guys just need one single meal and that's it. But I am going to start doing videos on freezer meals because I do like the convenience of those. But you guys don't have to make them. It's okay. All right. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. All right. Take care.